what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandhu Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Former Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira summoned to TID. Education Minister claims extremist political group responsible for delayed paper marking. Electricity, petroleum, postal and health services declared as essential services. No more musical shows, political meetings and mass gatherings at Golface Green. Is the government trying to form a national government?
මේ ජාතික ආණ්ඩු සෙල්ලම කියන්නේ ව්‍යසනකාරී දේශපාලන වැඩසටහනට සීල් එකක් විතරයි.
විපක්ෂය කියන්නේ එක පක්ෂයක් කණ්ඩායමක් නෙමෙයි.
එහෙම යෝජනාවක් આવොත් අපේ පක්ෂය සාකච්ඡා කරලා තීන්දුවක් ගන්න.
Who is trying to undermine the Express Pearl probe? Multiple factions call for investigation. Sri Lanka.
Starting off with news here at home, former Sri Lankan Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira has been summoned to the Terrorist Investigations Division on Wednesday morning to record a statement. Police spokesperson SSP Nihataldo told News First that de Oliveira is summoned to record a statement with regard to a comment he made over the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks. Sri Lanka's Justice Minister Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa said that the Attorney General was informed to instruct the police chief to record a statement from former Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira over the Easter Sunday terror attacks.
There is a certain degree of skepticism surrounding the investigations following a statement made by the former Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira prior to his retirement. He said that there was a grand conspiracy behind these attacks and that there was a mastermind. It was de Oliveira who served as an Attorney General during that time. He had the power to summon the police and issue orders for further investigations if the inquiry was insufficient. He had the power to order the Inspector General of Police to conduct further investigations on certain individuals who needed to be further investigated. At the same time, the Attorney General had the power to report facts to the Magistrates Court at any given time and request for orders from the Magistrates Court to direct the police to investigate certain individuals. However, if he made this statement ahead of his retirement, as people who have faith in the law, we are concerned as to why he did not act on it. We have informed the Attorney General that as there is a public opinion that the investigations are incomplete, to issue the necessary directives to the police chief to record a statement from the former Attorney General to determine on what grounds he made such comments, because the people have the right to know.
On the
17th of May 2021, former Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira said, quote, "There is a grand conspiracy with regard to the 2019 April attacks," unquote. He said that information by State Intelligence Service with times, targets, places, methods of attacks and other information is clear evidence that there was a grand conspiracy in place. Dappula de Oliveira said that the identities of those involved in the grand conspiracy must come by the way of evidence. The Justice Minister has told reporters that the ministry in charge of the police has already prepared a report on the Easter Sunday terror attacks.
Education Minister Susil Premajayantha said that intelligence agencies have reported that extremist political groups were behind the decision taken by the university teachers to step away from paper marking.
It is
reported that some extremist political groups want to delay the paper marking process and thus add more stress to the youth in their late teens. Intelligence reports have revealed that they are trying to use this stress to achieve their political objectives. Most of the teachers' unions have joined with our program, and I believe the university teachers will also join with the paper marking program.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has issued an extraordinary gazette declaring several services as essential services. All services connected to the supply of electricity, the supply or distribution of petroleum products and fuel, postal service, all service, work or labour of any description whatsoever necessary or required to be done in connection with the maintenance and the reception, care feeding and treatment of patients in hospitals, nursing homes, dispensaries and other similar institutions.
Sri Lanka's cabinet of ministers have decided that Golface Green will only be used as a site for the public to spend their time in an undisturbed manner.
Golface Green existed as a site where one can remain without any fear. In the recent past, due to musical shows, fun festivals and Aragalaya, the Golface Green experienced massive damage. Sri Lanka Ports Authority had taken up the task of developing Golface Green as a CSR project at a cost of 220 million rupees, as that the people can spend their time freely. After the 20th of April, Golface Green will only be used for such purpose and for special religious events. No other event will be allowed on Golface Green. Therefore, Cabinet decided that Golface Green will not be made available for any music festival, political meetings or any mass gatherings except for religious events.
ජනාධිපති කාර්යාලයෙන් ලබන 22 වෙනිදා පවත්වන නියමිත මේ වසත් සිරිය අවුරුදු උත්සවය කොහොමද පවත්වන්නේ කියන කාරණාව මම දැනගන්න කැමතියි.
There was no discussion about a New Year festival. The cabinet decided that Golface Green will not be made available for any musical festival, political meeting or mass gathering except for religious events.
Meanwhile, reports have surfaced of an attempt to increase the number of ministers and form a new national government. Here's a look at the views expressed on the political arena.
Minister Manusha Nanayakara said that the president had already extended an invitation to join the government.
The president has said that all those who wish to join with us can do so. So those who want to join with us will decide. We have a national program and not a private political agenda. Therefore, whoever comes forward will be accepted. I believe apart from a few, a majority will join us as a nation.
අපි කියන්නේ මේ වෙලාවේ මේ රට වෙනස් කරන තැනකට අවිල්ලයි කියලා අපි හැමෝටම තේරෙනවානේ. ඒක ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවකට යන්න මොකක් හරි වැඩිලක් තියෙනවා. නේද මේක ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් වගේ තමයි. මේක ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් තමයි. සියලු දෙනා එකතු වෙන ආණ්ඩුවක්. තව කට්ටිය ඕන කෙනෙකුට එකතු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේකේ අපිට ඇමති දූර.
That does not apply to us. We are in a different position now. Invite Anur Kumar to take up this task tomorrow. We will do the same. We do not know if he is capable of doing this. However, for the sake of the country, we can sit together and work.
අපිට පුළුවන් එහෙම වාඩි වෙලා වැඩ කරන්න.
විපක්ෂ නායකවරයා නම් කියලා දිනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ කවුරුත් එන්නේ
කියන්නේ. දැන් මේ අපි එනවා කියලා යදනම් හිටියා. ඒක දන්නෙත් නෑනේ.
The opposition leaders said that there was no discussion about the formation of a national government.
At this point, I must say that I have never discussed a national government. Our party has not discussed it. We have never discussed the positions of Prime Minister and the positions of ministers with this current government. To be honest, this government has launched a massive media conspiracy to make the people of this country become helpless through false propaganda. We will not form a government with a president who does not have a mandate. We will not accept the post of Prime Minister or other ministries.
අපි අගමැති තනතුරු ගන්නට යන්නේ නැහැ. අපි මැති ඇමති පට්ටම් ගන්නට යන්නේ නැහැ.
The chairman of the United National Party said attempts to muster support for the government will not be abandoned.
පක්ෂ නායකවරයා කියනවා කිසිසේත්ම සහයෝගයක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ රාජ්‍යයට කියලා.
කොච්චර කිව්වත් අපි අත්නොහල යුතුයි.
20ක් 25ක් එනවා කියනවා විපක්ෂ නායකවරයා එක ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරනවා නෑ නෑ කවුරුත් මේ යන්නේ නෑ.
විපක්ෂය කියන්නේ එක පක්ෂයක් කණ්ඩායමක් නෙමෙයි කණ්ඩායම් 7ක් 8ක කණ්ඩායම්. ඒතකොට මේ සියලු කණ්ඩායම් එකඟ කරවා ගත යුතුමයි. ඒ සඳහා පෙනී සිටිය යුතුයි.
ඇමතිකම් දෙන්න යන කතාවක් මේ දවස්වල පැතිරෙනවා. ඒකේ සත්‍යයක් තියෙනවද?
දන්නේ ඒක විශේෂභාර ජනාධිපතිවරයාගෙන් ඇසිය යුතු ප්‍රශ්නයක්.
කොහොට්ටුව කියනවා මේ ඒගොල්ලන්ටත් ඇමතිකම් ඕන මේ රාජ්‍යතර ඇමතිකම දුන්නොත් මේ ඒගොල්ලන්ටත් ඕන කියන ඒ වගේ කතා ඔබතුමා ඇහෙනව ඇති.
මම හිතන්නේ ඒවා ගොඩක් බාලාංශ පන්ති කතා. ඉතින් ඒවා මාධ්‍ය පළ නොකළ යුතුයි කියන එකයි මගේ අදහස.
This is what Vasudeva Nanayakara had to say.
The SJB that made the government's policy its own policy is not the opposition. Opposition is the people's power that rises against the government. The SJB and the UNP policies are the same. How can that be the opposition? A national government is a conspiracy to eliminate the opposition. They are trying to form the government with the namesake opposition. The policies are the same.
Gamini Lokuge from the SLPP said there was no decision on forming a national government.
We openly supported Ranil Wickremesinghe to become the president. We will support his programs. However, we as the SLPP have requested for several ministries. It is up to him to be aware of it, but we made a request.
MP Charita Herath said that none of the MPs from the Freedom People's Congress would join the national government.
Ranil Wickremesinghe has the majority to continue with the government. The SLPP condemned Basil Rajapaksa's budget and praised Wickremesinghe. So why do we need a new national government? They can proceed together. However, Wickremesinghe is aware that his program will create a serious issue in the country. In order to seal it, he is trying to grab sections from the SJB and other smaller parties. The Freedom People's Congress will not join those programs. We would like to tell the other parties that by doing so, it's a suicide mission.
This is the position of the Frontline Socialist Party.
Forming a national government is yet another attempt to increase the number of ministries. I don't believe that any wise opposition MP would even think about joining the government that is falling apart. What we are told is that a group from the SLPP will defect to the government soon.
Several Tamil political parties also commented on the national government.
Who invited to form the national government? I was not invited. What we have is not a national government, but a multi-party government. According to the media, opposition groups will join the government. If we speak of a national government, President Ranil Wickremesinghe must remove Dinesh Gunawardena from the post of Prime Minister. No party will accept the formation of the national government with Dinesh Gunawardena as the Prime Minister. We are not aware of any talks with the TNA. Our intention is a political solution. If the President provides that, we can consider the program to form a national government.
Parliamentarian C.V. Vigneswaran from the Tamil People's National Alliance, also known as the Tamil Makkal Thesiya Kootani, said he was not invited to form a national government. He said he would consider the option of accepting a ministry if all political prisoners are released. Sri Lanka's mainstream political discussions are centered around positions, ministries and a national government. However, what is the fate of the farmers who feed the nation? The Govibime Mithuro collective organization belonging to the Parakrama Samudra farmers movement held a press conference in Polonnaruwa today.
Mahinda Amravira said that paddy will be fixed at 120 rupees. Ranil came and said that the price of paddy would be 100 rupees this season. But this was not done so. To this date, there is no place we can find for that price. The rice mill owners purchase our paddy at whatever price they deem. We have our harvest stocked up in our houses, unable to sell them because we cannot manage our expenses by selling our harvests at 90 or 93 rupees. Large-scale rice mill owners prey on innocent farmers. This government does not come forward to aid us in these situations. They are quick to reduce the price of paddy, but there is no law for when paddy is purchased at a low cost. There is no law to protect farmers when paddy prices are low.
Farmers from the Parakrama Samudra movement elaborated on the issue with piled up paddy stocks in the background.
If we do not get a proper price, we will not have money to purchase fertilizer and material for the next season. We request the President and MPs to declare a fixed price for paddy before the 25th of April. When water is released for the Yala season, the paddy is sold for a very less price. We are professional farmers and we will have to abandon our farms. We will have to let go of farming for good. although the government releases water, we do not get any other facility.
Polonnaruwa District Secretary W.A. Dharmasiri said that 9,000 metric tons of paddy was purchased from farmers using the funds allocated by the government. He said funds are necessary to continue with the procurement of paddy.
News first with the people.
Multiple factions are calling for an immediate investigation on a statement made by Justice Minister Vijay Das Rajapaksa, who claimed that a bribe of $250 million was solicited to undermine the probe on the Express Pearl maritime disaster in the sea of Sri Lanka.
The Marine Environment Protection Authority filed a complaint with the Criminal Investigations Department seeking an immediate investigation into the claims made that attempts were made to curb the efforts being made to secure compensation following the Express Pearl maritime disaster.
If an influence was made on anyone with MIPA, it is not only a betrayal to MIPA, but to the entire country. That is why we filed this complaint, to determine if there was any attempt to delay this process. We want those involved to be arrested. We have been discussing the matter with the Attorney General, and we have offered them all available information. They have given us an assurance that the case will be filed ahead of the said date. They will not remain idle. We will support them with all the reports. We hope this case will be filed soon.
The test reports සියලු දේම ලබා දෙමින් අපි සහාය වෙනවා. අපි බලා සිටිනවා ඒ නඩුව ඉක්මනට ෆයිල් කරනකම්.
The Citizens Movement Against Bribery, Fraud and Corruption filed a complaint with the Bribery Commission seeking an investigation into the statement made by Justice Minister.
The country must know who obtained that bribe. As claimed by Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, the Commission must expose it.
This is an international crime and we should not be afraid to claim compensation. We do not need to fall on the feet of the Singaporeans. Our leaders should be firm to demand the compensation and file the case in Sri Lanka.
The Justice Minister said that he informed Sri Lanka Police to conduct an investigation.
I was passed information from various factions, and I was told that a certain faction solicited a bribe to undermine this program. $250 million was deposited to the UK bank account under a singular name. This is the account and the reference number. I am not aware of the authenticity of this, yet this is something serious. Therefore, I handed over this to the police chief and the CID, and the investigation is underway.
Questions were raised over the attempts to ship 100,000 torque macaque monkeys to China at the cabinet media briefing. Minister Bandalu Gunawardana says this proposal was submitted by a Chinese private company.
There is no discussion between the governments of Sri Lanka and China over the matter. A private company in China has approached the agriculture minister seeking monkeys for 1,000 zoos in China. A proposal was put forward. The minister has appointed a committee with other relevant stakeholders and will inform the cabinet on the possibility of engaging in such a transaction. One cannot exchange animals freely between two nations. China has strong legislations on the matter. There is no process of sending live animals for meat, as claimed by the media. We do not approve of such acts.
A
collective of civil groups visited foreign missions in Sri Lanka to express their concerns over the crackdown on trade unions, the new anti-terrorism bill, and the delayed local government elections.
A collective of civil groups handed over letters to the Asian Development Bank, Canadian High Commission, French Embassy, German Embassy, IMF, Japanese Embassy, South African High Commission, US Consul Office and the World Bank. The Indian High Commission did not accept the letter.
For the
second time, civil groups handed over letters to the foreign missions. This is to raise concerns on the anti-terrorism bill, crackdown on trade unions, delayed elections and all other undemocratic measures adopted by the government. If the government can approach the IMF and do whatever they want, we too can go to foreign missions to protect our democracy. We have the right to oppose anything.
The revised fuel quota will be in effect for another week.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation said the revised fuel quota will be in effect for another week. Mohammed Uwais Mohammed, the chairman of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, said the fuel consumption for the period when the quota was increased will be analysed to determine if the revised fuel quota will be implemented for the future as well. He said that no decision was made to revise the increased fuel quota. On the 4th of April, the Ministry of Power and Energy decided to increase the fuel quota for vehicles.
Deputy Chairman of China International Development Cooperation Agency has assured that China will continue to provide necessary support to Sri Lanka at all times.
Deputy Chairman of China International Development Cooperation Agency, Den Bozing, recently met Minister Bandulu Gunawardena and assured that China will continue to provide necessary support to Sri Lanka at all times. A special meeting between Deputy Chairman of China International Development Cooperation Agency, Den Bozing, and Minister Bandulu Gunawardena was held at the Chinese Embassy in Sri Lanka recently. The minister stated that the government of Sri Lanka particularly expects the advice, assistance and support of all other friendly countries and international organizations, including China, India and Japan, for Sri Lanka's debt restructuring program.
Sri Lanka has requested Bangladesh to resume negotiations to sign a proposed preferential trade agreement by April with an eye to boosting bilateral trade between the two friendly countries.
As a part of the move, the Lankan High Commission in Dhaka proposed to hold a virtual meeting on the 24th of April to discuss the current status and way forward. The mission has also requested Dhaka to inform its concurrence on the proposed date soon. According to the Financial Express, preferential trade agreement negotiations between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are expected to resume on the 27th of April or in the first week of May. Earlier, primary negotiations on the proposed deal was postponed due to months of political turmoil.
First up in news overseas, according to the United Nations Special Representative for Sudan, at least 185 people have been killed and a further 1,800 injured in 3 days of fighting between rival factions in Sudan as the group of 7 joined calls for an immediate to end the hostilities.
The two sides are using tanks, artillery and other heavy weapons in densely populated areas. Fighter jets thundered overhead and anti-aircraft fire lit up the skies as darkness fell. The sudden outbreak of violence over the weekend between the nation's two top generals, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the commander of the armed forces, and General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, the head of the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary group. The violence has raised the spectre of civil war and has cut power and water in Khartoum, and smoke has been hanging up over the city amidst the clamour of airstrikes, artillery fire and shooting. Furthermore, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken warned Sudan's rival factions after US diplomatic convoy came under fire. Anthony Blinken, speaking in Japan, said the diplomatic convoy that came under fire on Monday was flying US flags and all in the convoy were safe.
In more news overseas, Russian President Vladimir Putin still maintains his territorial ambitions more than a year after launching his invasion of Ukraine, as he recently visited military command posts in occupied regions of Ukraine.
According to the Kremlin, Putin made a spontaneous visit to troops in the Kherson and Luhansk regions, where he received reports from field commanders while fierce fighting was ongoing in the northeastern city of Bakhmut. Although state TV footage did not immediately reveal the president's exact locations during the trip, this marks his closest visit to the frontline areas that Russia now claims as its own territory after the war began. This is Putin's second visit to occupied Ukraine after making a brief stop in a southeastern port city destroyed by Russian forces in the early weeks of the invasion in March. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov informed reporters that Putin is visiting the newly claimed regions more frequently, checking the command centers and gathering information on the ground, which is highly significant for the commander-in-chief.
In sports, it's cricket. Sri Lanka made history today, recording their largest Test cricket victory ever by defeating Ireland by an innings and 280 runs.
The first ever Test match between Sri Lanka and Ireland was played at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. Sri Lanka declared their innings at 591 for 6 after skipper Dimuth Karunaratne smashed 179 and Kusal Mendis hammering 140. Dinesh Chandimal posted his 14th Test century with 102 runs, and Sadira Samaravikrama, who came back into the Test side after 6 years, posted his maiden Test century with 104 runs. In reply, Ireland could only post 143 runs on the board for their first innings. Prabhat Jayasuriya went on to dominate the Ireland batters, taking a 5-wicket haul on day 2 and ending with a 7th in the innings. Bowled out for 143, Ireland couldn't do much better following on, finishing on 168 with Harry Tector, Curtis Camphor and George Dockrell getting starts.
Towards a follow-on, certainly do so. Outside edge and Visha Fernando. Oh, Tector gets 6 runs.
In 6 tests thus far, Prabhat Jayasuriya has 5 5-wicket hauls in an innings and 2 match hauls of 10 wickets or more. The left-arm spinner who won the Player of the Match award finished with figures of 10 for 108. The innings and 280-run victory gives Sri Lanka a 1-0 lead in the 2-match Test series. Sri Lanka's previous largest Test win was way back in 2004 when they crushed Zimbabwe by 254 runs in Bulawayo.
4 islands. 4.
Now you can catch these stories and much more while visiting www.newsfirst.lk. With that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.